Hello and welcome to another Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Ryan,
I'm Nathan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before I get into anything at all, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature podcast. It's got some fun games, fun conversations over there, just a fun conversation between two friends having a good old laugh over there. That's only $5 a month, which doesn't affect any regular content whatsoever. But today, we are going to be talking about the movie Ready to Rumble from the year 2000, directed by Brian Robbins. So, Nathan, we've said this before. I was a huge wrestling fan
Was.
growing at the time, this
Mhm.
era.
Okay,
I still
gotcha.
watch I do still watch wrestling from time to time. Not as much as I used to, where I was just like inhaling it, couldn't get enough of it.
I
And
gotcha.
I had like the action figures. I'd create my own little events. I would create like stages and like all
Oh
kinds of set
wow.
pieces. And
That's
I
really
had like
fun.
I had my own title lineages. Like I would keep track of who won the title and everything. And
Okay. That's really cool actually. I'm glad that sounds nice to have something to be like that into.
I was very, very much into it. I couldn't get enough of wrestling. So this movie right here is the movie Ready to Rumble. This was probably came out at the absolute peak of wrestling fandom, like just popularity wise. I mean, don't get me wrong. Wrestling is still very profitable. A lot of people do watch it and everything, but I still feel like it doesn't have that same mainstream appeal because going to school like during this time period, like so many people either had Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirts on.
Hmm.
Or if they were big WCW people, they would have like NWO shirts, which
In
is
yeah, NWO, yeah.
so like that was it was you either saw like one those are the two most popular shirts I remember growing up. Like I just remember seeing multiple people would have one or the other on.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I even have to say anything because I think we talked about this before that I'm not a big wrestling guy. I When I was a kid, I didn't really watch wrestling. I did play wrestling games at other like friends' houses, and that was definitely just a big part of my childhood, even without
sure.
watching it. I remember other friends, other boys at school. They loved wrestling, and like it was all about having the WCW video games or like anything
Hmm.
like that. And that was just a huge part of culture in the I'd say late 90s to maybe the mid 2000s. And even then mid 2000s, you know more than me, I feel like it wasn't the same. There was like this 98
Mm.
to early 2000s where it was like crazy. But maybe that's just from my point of view.
But no, I mean it was absolutely insane the amount of wrestling people were consuming back in the day.
Hmm.
It was always between the two big companies. You had WWEF at the time, WWF at the time,
Hmm.
versus ECW, WCW.
Hmm.
ECW was a third wrestling company that wasn't nearly as big as these two. But
Yeah,
anyway,
never heard of that one.
yeah, so it was WWF and WCW. And it was like a big like tribalism type of thing where you were either really into WF or you're really into WCW. And even though there was still a lot of wrestling to consume, and but it was the thing was is it was their main shows, Nitro and WWF Raw, were both on the same night, Monday night
Oh
at
my
the same
God.
time. So I mean, you could record the episode, sure, like if you had a VCR and everything, but it's not like before where it was just like on demand where you can just go back and rewatch it or whatever. It's like you had to make a choice.
Hmm.
Like, if you didn't have any way to record it or anything like that, you had to make an actual conscious choice of which show you wanted to watch, or you had to be constantly flipping back and forth between the
Oh,
two channels.
that's really cool, actually. I kind of love that there was that much of a like a brutal, like you have to watch this or that. There is no choice in between. And were you a WCW kid?
No, I was a WWF
Oh,
guy.
okay. All right.
And so like I just had there was some big people like Undertaker, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, just
Mhm.
those were like my guys. I mean, I don't get me wrong, there was people in WCW I enjoyed a lot, but like if I had to pick a show of which one I'm watching, it was most always WWF at the time.
Gotcha. Interesting. Cool.
So, uh, but like I was saying, just to give you an idea of how white hot wrestling is was back then. One of the highest rated segments was at one point they did like a 10 share, which was like 10 million homes at one point were watching wrestling.
Holy
Like
crap.
which that's like insane numbers for a wrestling show. And like back then it was like only 4 million homes watching it was like considered like a bad rating.
That's insane, actually.
I missed this because that's how much people were consuming wrestling. But WCW is the main subject of this movie. So
Mhm.
I want to focus more on that. Um, the thing that kind of kicked off the wars, like I said, was Nitro coming into play after WWF Raw, Monday Night Raw was a thing for a while. WCW, um, at a certain point, though, did the impossible. They were able to beat WWF in the ratings with the formation of the NWO. Like, not to undersell it, but Hulk Hogan like joining the NWO
Yeah.
was like a game changer.
Yeah.
And
And then Sting is like I remember his face is just iconic. Like I just know that face. Like you see him, he's just like such an icon. And I know he was a huge deal at that time as well as and he's in the movie too.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. And like I was saying before, they were actually able to consistently beat WWF in the ratings for
Hmm.
83 weeks, which
83 weeks. Okay. Good God.
in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was like a big deal at the time that they're like, oh my God, like WWF was like had a real concern of going out of business to WCW.
Wow.
Um,
Now I'm interested in what happened.
but I don't. That's a whole different
Hmm.
discussion for another
Yeah.
day. But
Wow.
anyway, eventually WWF started coming back and they were beating WCW and the ratings. So WCW did a lot of different gimmicks to try to get people to switch back over to their channel.
Hmm.
And one of the gimmicks was this one, Ready to Rumble, which was the year 2000 it came out, which was only 1 year away from WCW shutting their doors down.
Wow. And I mean, I'm sure this movie didn't help.
No, it didn't. I mean, I do believe like there was like, which I'll get into it later, but it did give it a little bit of a boost for like a night or two, but
Hmm.
overall it didn't do like the big box office that they wanted.
Hmm. Yeah, because
Um,
I kind of know the storyline in that goes into this just from like knowledge, but I'm sure that's something we'll get into later.
right, but let's actually get into the movie now. So the movie is about the two friends, Gordy and Sean, played by David Arquette and Scott Kahn, and they're
James's
very
son.
yeah, James Caan's son. This is like his big debut.
Hmm. He
Uh,
did he's won an Emmy. Did you know that?
What for Hawaii Five O? Isn't
For
that what he won
Hawaii
it for?
5-0. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
But they show up at this little tiny convenience store, and they're talking about what big fans of are they are of
Hmm.
WCW wrestling, and how
Hmm.
much they love the wrestler Jimmy King. And Jimmy King is a fictional wrestler played by Oliver Platt, and
Wow.
they're obsessed to him to the point where they've almost lost touch with like reality. Like
Hmm.
there's the age old argument of them saying like wrestling is fake or whatever,
Hmm.
and anytime somebody even breathes that word fake to them, like it just launches Gordy into like a fit of rage.
Yes. It's to the point
And
where like this movie feels like a Dumb and Dumber knockoff, right? Like cuz that's all these two are, especially Gordy just being extremely like obnoxiously dumb.
yeah, and they have like a little fantasy sequence where we actually get to see Macho Man Randy Savage,
Yeah. Taking down
which
someone at a
is
convenience store.
which is hugely roided up Macho Man. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like if you've watched him from like his like early days and then look
Mhm.
at him then, he's like he is like he looks like he's about to explode.
I don't know much about him, but he was huge in that scene. It is
Yeah,
absolutely insane, and I love the blooper where Oliver Platt actually punches him in the face on accident.
right. Uh, but yeah, the thing I mean, just kind of looking back now, like, watching it, I watched this movie a lot as a kid.
Okay, that's what I was wondering if you like this movie as a
I,
kid.
so I had a lot of sentimental value towards this movie because I was used to watch it. But the thing I noticed the most while watching this movie as an adult is how much like disdain this movie puts on wrestling fans. Like, this is a movie
Mm.
basically created to advertise WCW, but at no point do they ever make it seem like wrestling is cool or whatever. It's always like it's like these weirdos and like
Mhm.
idiots that love wrestling.
Yeah, I
It's ne-
actually, oh, go
it's
ahead.
never treated as like something cool that people love.
Yeah, it's like a movie that's trying to appeal to like people that hate wrestling, but like, why would they do that? Because people that hate wrestling wouldn't watch this movie. It does feel like it has disdain up until like the very end with whatever message they're trying to push, because everybody seems to be a dumb hick in this movie, and and it felt really offensive in a way that it was like, oh yeah, you're a redneck, and that's why you like wrestling, and you don't know anything, and the fact that Jimmy King is a wrestler and he's just like some kind of just dumb, I mean the best way to put it, dumb hick. That's the way he is, and we're supposed to love him because of that.
Yeah. And Jimmy King is kind of based off of a lot of different wrestlers. I'd
Mhm.
say like the primary one he's based off of is Jerry Lawler, Jerry the King
Mm.
Lawler.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of the similar looks, and he's also like a big country guy. He's from Memphis. He
Mhm.
does the king gimmick, with the same thing with the crown and the scepter
Yeah.
and all that. But um, not anything like that though, because I mean, Jimmy King in this movie is like treated like a total loser and like nobody
Mhm.
likes him type of thing. Uh, but yeah, they have tickets to go see Nitro, and they're super excited for it. And
Mhm.
we do get to see a lot of familiar wrestlers in this movie, and one of them being Diamond Dallas Page,
Yeah.
who's one of the main antagonists in this movie,
Mhm.
and we see Goldberg there too. But there's like a conversation that happens. So the guy Sinclair, Titus Sinclair, who's played by Joe Pantoliano.
Yeah, which is
Um,
like, I was pointing at the screen. Hell yeah, always happy to see him.
so that part, which I don't know into the how much lore you are with wrestling, but that part was originally supposed to be for the guy Eric Bischoff,
Yeah, I don't know who
who
that is.
was the main one of the main bookers at the time for WCW. That was supposed to be like he was supposed to be playing like a fictionalized version of himself, and he was like an evil
Interesting.
authority figure as well. But he got fired right before the movie came out, so he couldn't play this character. So they got Joe Pantoliano to play that role.
I'm actually surprised by the cast in this movie overall, because not only does it have a bunch of wrestlers, it's got like I don't know, like actual like movies, like people that are in movies, like Oliver Platt for one of them, and then we'll talk about him later, but Martin Landau shows up later. It's you can see the money that they poured into this movie to try to make this like a hit for them.
Mhm.
But no, like you were saying, um, basically Jimmy King thinks he's fit to win, and he's always going to win these wrestling matches. But then basically, Joey P there has to sets everything against him, Sinclair.
Yeah. So this is based off of a real life event that happened in wrestling.
Really?
So there's a scene where like Titus Sinclair goes to Diamond Dallas Page, who's talking to Goldberg, and
Mhm.
he's like, hey, tonight you're gonna go up. Jimmy King's gonna give you the crown, and he's gonna pin you, and that's how it's gonna end. And he's just like, okay, whatever. And then he pulls Diamond Dallas Page aside, and he's just like, tonight's your night. Like this is you're winning the big one.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, like do whatever you can and whatever. So what happens is that it's supposed to be for the world title. It's going to be Diamond Dallas Page versus Jimmy King,
Mhm.
and the fight sort of starts out normal, where they're having like a regular wrestling match, and
Mhm.
they're doing like the gimmick, where they're wrestling, but they're also talking because they're friends, but they're still pretending
Mhm.
that one's a good guy, one's a bad guy type of thing. And so it's supposed to be like it's still like a very choreographed event and everything's still on the up and up, but at a certain point, Diamond Dallas Page like, you know, low blows Jimmy King, and then all the other wrestlers come out, and I recognized everybody in there too,
I'm
which
sure
is
you
which
did.
is cool, which is cool to see. Like one of them was Rey Mysterio, you probably didn't recognize,
Mm-mm.
but they beat him, they legitimately beat him up, like punch him, kick him, and like brutalize this guy, like just like
Yes.
beat the crap out of him until he's just physically unable to stand up, and they pin him 1, 2, 3, and because that's not how the finish was supposed to go. The finish was supposed to be that Jimmy King wins. So going back to what I said, this was featuring like a based off a real life event. It was called the Montreal Screw Job, where it was between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels for the world title in
Mhm.
WWF. The story goes that Bret Hart was supposed to win the match either via count out or whatever. But there's a time where Shawn Michaels has Bret Hart in the sharpshooter, and then the referee just calls for the bell, acting like Bret Hart just tapped, but Bret Hart did not tap at all. And
Really?
people were, because this was Bret Hart's last night in the company too.
Hmm.
So, but the story goes is that they were afraid that he was going to take the world title with him because he was planning on going to WCW.
Really?
So they went behind his back and basically made sure that the match ended as the outcome that they wanted. And they didn't let Bret Hart in on this whatsoever. So Bret Hart's just standing there like, but he totally just got betrayed and just dumbfounded.
Holy crap. That's actually really that's really sad. What did he ever go back to them?
He did eventually go back in 2006, I believe, and he
Okay.
got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And relations have been better since then. I don't think all wounds have healed. I think he still has like some bitter feelings towards it. But in terms of working with the company, he still makes appearances, and he'll still come out and the fans give him his flowers. But
Yeah.
this was sort of a play on that event because this was the same kind of thing that happened.
And let me say, I feel like you talking about this and like the whole idea behind it is far more interesting. And I feel like maybe if this movie was actually more wrestler focused or wrestling focused, could have been better. I think the inclusion of the two Dumb and Dumber characters kind of brings this movie down another level. And it's sad to say because I've always kind of liked David Arquette. I always thought he's usually pretty enjoyable in movies, but it's just something about the characters that I don't think bring much. Or maybe not bring much, they bring a lot. They don't add anything really good. I feel like it could have been better without them.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, there's still the stuff in here that's really funny to me, like when
Mhm.
his dad like goes to him because Gordy is trying, he doesn't want to be a cop, but his dad wants him to be a cop and kind of forget about wrestling. And
Mhm.
he's like, Gordy, wrestling is fake. And he's just like, wrestling's not. He just screams at the top of his lungs.
Yes, yeah. That whole bit is kind of funny with the cop family, where they're all
Hmm.
sitting at the table. It's like your sister shot her first perp today, and she's like, yeah, shot him in the leg, something, or shot him
Or
in the back,
the buttocks,
the
they said.
buttocks. Okay, yeah, and that's kind of funny. Um,
Or like he's like, because they're about to go to Nitro, and his dad's like, make sure you get back here before 11. You have a test to take tomorrow. He's like, yeah, about. He's like trying to say like he doesn't want to do. He's like, yeah, about that. And his dad just points a gun at him. He's like, all right, I'll see you then.
yes, because that's it. His cop is just like gun crazy, or his dad is gun crazy, and like
And
pulls up and like
well,
forces him to like be pat down every time they meet up with each other.
and there's a scene later in the movie where Gordy can't leave the house, and he tells Sean and Jimmy King, he's like, you guys gotta leave. My dad will shoot you.
Yeah. Uh, but there's a really nasty scene very early in the movie where he gets a slushy back by putting a finger up his butt and forces the clerk to sniff it and says it's the slushy, smells like butt. Something about that scene just like disgusts me to no end.
It does, but then I was almost kind of like, oh, that's almost just like they're stealing from Mallrats.
Exactly, the whole the pretzels from
Stink palm.
Mallrats. Yeah, it's the stink palm. Yeah, which is exactly. But here's the thing: that whole the stinky finger. They're dumb singing. At one point, he's singing Britney Spears for like no reason. That's like a whole
Yeah, like
sequence.
that's
Uh,
yeah, there was that one. Like that
it,
was like, oh, this feels like so late 90s.
Yeah. But it reminded me so much of being a kid. I never watched this movie as a kid, but I feel like I did. Like I feel like if I had found this movie at the right time, I would have watched this over and over again. It felt like a boys' sleepover.
It absolutely is. I mean, it just there's other stuff too, like one of the other supporting characters is Chris Owen, the guy that plays the Shermanator from the
That's
American
right.
Pie movies.
Yes.
He's in this movie. But the main plot of this movie, like I said, like Jimmy King's like been kind of betrayed, and they're like, we got to go talk to the real Jimmy King and figure out what happened.
Hmm.
And they they do eventually find Jimmy King because they have like they've idolized this man, and they find him like they talk to like his ex-wife. They find like all these people that he ran into, and it turned out like Jimmy King is kind of like this loser who's got like an ex-wife and all this unpaid alimony and things like that, and
Hmm.
he's just kind of like this drunk too. And they find him and they want him to get back into wrestling, and he's just like, I'm not doing it, blah blah blah. But their kind of extreme passion kind of reignites him, and he's like,
Hmm.
but he's he's kind of a wimp though in this movie. He's like a huge scaredy cat. He doesn't want to fight any of these guys or do
Hmm.
anything. He's very passive in this movie.
Yeah, because very early on in this movie, he actually gets his lick back at and sucker punches. Does he sucker punch Dallas or Sinclair? Uh,
He does it to Diamond Dallas because they get into this fight,
that's
and
right. Yeah.
the Gordy and Sean are the one they tackle Sinclair.
Yeah. So and then it's immediately like, oh, I only got that because I was able to sucker punch him. I would never actually fight them, and that's how they get into the triple cage match that they're like and he's so against the idea.
Well, the other parts too that annoyed me. So again, big wrestling fan.
Mhm.
And there's like they do like an impromptu match, and he throws Diamond Dallas to the ground after beating him up, and it pins him. And he's
Mhm.
like he holds up the title like he wants. Like, I won the title. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
that's not how this works. You can't just do impromptu title matches. That's not
But
a thing.
doesn't Sinclair say that? He's like, no, this doesn't count.
Right, but why would they think that counts?
That's true. Yeah, because they're supposed to be wrestling fans.
Yeah, like that's I hated that. There's just certain things about wrestling that are just like I'm like, this is supposed to be a wrestling movie for wrestling fans, but they get so much wrong too.
So they do. So this movie does get a lot wrong. I'm sure as a kid you were willing to kind of overlook that.
No, I remember being like, and then I could,
Okay, that's funny. But yeah, so and then it becomes like a training movie. but there's this whole subplot with oh
Rose
god,
McGowan.
thank you, Rose McGowan, who is one of the wrestling girls who gets in with Gordy and pretends to be just as dumb as he is. Um, which, I mean, thank God that she was like a spy because, I mean, I don't like her character anyway, but God, at first I was like, I can't stand this character.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear there's something going on. I mean,
Yes.
it's very clear that she has zero interest in Gordy's character because
Yeah.
and another aspect is that he goes back to her apartment and they end up eventually having sex and he sends a postcard to his dad. He's like, Dad, I'm no longer a virgin.
Or no, well, it's wild that scene because she's like she takes off her top and then he says foreign objects and just punches her right in the face and
Right.
they end up fighting each other in the bedroom.
Hmm. He's like, oh yeah, he cannot like escape wrestling though. He's like every time he walks into, he's like, oh, you want to show me some moves? And he flips her, and then she's like, oh, I think we should wrestle on here, and he's like, oh, a bedroom match.
Yeah, and then beats the crap out of her.
Yeah,
um
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't really. I thought she was kind of like a useless character. I mean, the only aspect that her character comes into play is just figuring out where Martin Landau's character is and telling
Yeah.
the bad guys.
And as soon as she tells that, she's out of the movie. Like it's really silly how obvious she is. She's on like a payphone talking, and then David Arquette's just in the background buying a candy bar, and he hears it all, and then is immediately like, "Oh, yep, you're not my girl anymore." And she's not out of the movie, but like her entanglement with that is gone because he doesn't go back to her or anything.
Mhm. So they do eventually, because they have to get ready for this big match. It's going to be a triple cage match, which is not the first time they've done a triple cage match. And then
Mhm.
they've done this cage match after this movie as well.
Okay, cool.
So uh, they say they have to get ready for this match. But the thing I just it's really weird about this movie is just how little actual wrestling is in this movie.
Mhm.
And because this is not like Jimmy King like having to get ready for a wrestling match. He has to get ready for a fight. Like that's the whole point. Is like it's
It's
like
to the
no,
death.
this is gonna be a real fight. This is not wrestling. This is a real
Mhm.
fight. Like again,
Mhm.
another way they're just pushing wrestling aside and it
Yeah.
ends up turning into like a big brawl. And Sal Mandini shows up, which is like you said, played by Martin Landau, who's also based off a real guy, which is Bret Hart's dad, Stu Hart.
Wow, crazy. So this could have
And
been easily the Bret Hart movie.
it could have been. And but Bret Hart was employed with the company at the time, so who knows?
Is he in this movie?
No.
Okay.
But oh, you know who is in this movie, Nathan?
Who?
So there's a scene where Gordy and Sean they're trying to get people to align with Jimmy King. So they actually go to Goldberg and they ask Goldberg,
Hmm.
like, hey, we really need you here. And do you know who's in the background of that scene, Nathan?
No. Who?
It's John Cena.
I didn't notice that. That's great. Well, no wonder I didn't see him. Right? That's the
That's why you
thing.
didn't see him.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't there. But no, that's I should have expected.
It's very early John Cena. John Cena, wouldn't join WWE until 2 years later, being on the main roster. But this was like it was just bleach blonde John Cena.
Holy crap. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, just if you Google John Cena Ready to Rumble, it's odd that like this one now obscure wrestling movie just has like one of the biggest names in wrestling, like all in this movie.
Yeah. That is kind of crazy. But no, that must be fun. That must at least bring some enjoyment to you. Is just the fact that you can point to all these wrestlers in this movie.
Oh yeah, I mean, there was Sid Vicious, there was Perry Saturn, Juventud Guerrera, the Disco Inferno, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Hennig,
Mhm.
all those people I recognize. I could go on all day about that. Bam Bam Bigelow was another one, Chris Canyon. Uh, but anyway, they all get down and they have to prepare for this big fight. And
Mhm.
Sal Mendini like shows them how to fight and everything. And it's like, oh, you got to do all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, oh no, like you got to kick him in the balls. You got to punch him in the face. It's not like this big repertoire he's learning. And he doesn't ever use any wrestling holds in this movie real at the end of the movie.
No, he just learned how to like fight dirty. That's like it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, fight dirty and really take him down that way. And like, what does he say? He says like fight a man fight his strengths, not his weaknesses, because they never
Yeah,
expect you to
like
attack
you
his
gotta
strengths.
you gotta attack through the middle because they don't expect that.
I wonder how much Martin got paid for this one. I hope it was a good
I
paycheck.
don't know. I don't know. But yeah, they end up doing it. Sal ends up getting the crap beaten out of him because
Hmm.
the bad guys find out, and they do have like a big falling out, like,
Hmm.
and they at the end of the movie, Gordy's not able to attend because he's trying to become a police officer via his family's wishes, and they hire like these weird people like Fireman Fred, the Chewer, and
Pretty
this like hot,
kitty.
pretty kitty, and they don't ever come into play. They're like,
What?
they come out, and they stand there.
What was that? That's a whole scene
Huh.
dedicated in this movie to having a wrestling posse and doing tryouts, and they don't do a damn thing. I thought they were going to come in and
No,
save the day, but they don't do it. It's so pointless. It's like a scene filler, but this movie didn't need a time filler.
no, the people that show up, it's Sting and Goldberg and Booker T and
Mhm.
all that. So at the end, though, the fight does happen. Gordy shows up at the last minute, and all it's like it just turns into like this big all-out brawl. Jimmy King's son is there that there is kind of estranged, and he's there to
Mhm.
start beating up his dad.
He's the one who starts
And
it.
hmm and the whole objective is they have to climb to the very top of the cage and grab the
Mhm.
belt, and that's what signifies that they've won the match.
Yeah.
And it kind of just turns into mass mayhem, like wrestlers fighting all over the place.
Mhm.
Rose McGowan gets in there and she's trying to like make amends with Gordy, but she ends up taking the ladder to the face.
Yeah. Well, Gordy's entrance, he comes in on a police motorcycle, and now he's like a police themed wrestler. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, it does become just an insane ending. And Scott Kahn is dressed like a pimp. I know that's not what he's going for, but he kind of looks like a pimp in his outfit.
Well, yeah, it's and they call him Sugar Daddy or
Yeah,
whatever.
sugar
And
daddy. Yeah, because he becomes a manager, and Gordy gets to become the wrestler. Even though I feel like both of
yeah,
them could have been a wrestler.
yeah. I, but Gordy was the one who really wanted it the most, I
Mm.
guess. But
But I guess David Arquette became the wrestler in real life, so it makes sense.
we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
So, um, anyway, the fight kind of breaks out. There's not really much to say. They have a big fight, and then
Mm-mm.
Jimmy King picks up Diamond Dallas Cage and slams him, and he falls through the three cages and pretty much dies almost, it looks like.
Yeah, kind of. It's to the
And
death. They said so.
yeah, and he wins the title back and he's the world champion once again. But there's all kinds of ramifications, like because Sinclair, if he's still there, he's still got to deal with like being in the company. He still has to deal with him. So he couldn't just like fire him or just
No,
do what like put him in these situations. But I'm getting a, I'm putting too much thought into it. I know, but
exactly. You're just everything wraps up beautifully.
Gordy becomes like a full-time wrestler and he's Jimmy
Hmm.
King's tag partner now. And
Hmm.
it's this whole big thing. Everyone's happy. Everyone, and he goes back to the convenience store and Goldberg beats the crap out of the
Yes.
convenience store guy.
And there's a romance too. Don't forget the romance. Scott Conn, like goes for the girl in town who likes wrestling instead of the girl of his dreams. That is kind of a mean girl.
Goofy.
Which is it's just goofy. Even though you do get to see that scene of Scott Kahn's ass as he walks back to the bus. I don't very unnecessary.
Very unnecessary butt shot, but you know what?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Why not?
I applauded in that
The
moment.
theater, I'm sure the theater was clapping during
Woo!
that scene.
I'm sure the theater for this movie was rowdy. I'm sure people were laughing, hooting, and hollering.
But yeah, anyway, this movie it wraps up at the end. Post this movie at the end. Movie turned out to be a huge box office bomb at a $20 million budget, only made about 12 million back.
Mm.
Um, so they really wanted this movie to be a success. So how do you get this movie to be success? You promote this movie. How do they promote this movie? They bring David Arquette onto WCW television.
Hmm.
And how do you really sell this movie? They have him win the world title.
I didn't know that. David Arquette he can say he had the world title. That's wow.
David David Arquette is a former WCW world champion.
That kind of rocks.
So
But I'm sure people at the time were not happy.
it did add a little bit of a ratings boost
Okay.
when they did that, but it was only a very short term game and gain, and for the most part that's, like I said, this was 2000. These are like the dying days of WCW when they were just pulling every desperate trick
Hmm.
out of the book that they can to get whatever type of publicity. Because back then it was a lot of the philosophy was just like, there is no bad publicity. If people are talking about us,
Yeah.
it's a good thing type of. And they were doing whatever they could to get people to notice them. David Arquette won the world title. Diamond Dallas Page was the world champion at the time, but
Hmm.
it was kind of like the whole story was like Diamond Dallas Page and David Arquette were friends because they filmed the movie together,
Yeah.
and and they had like this tag team match where the title was on the line, and whoever scored the pinfall would become the world champion. David Arquette was able to get the pin, so he won the world title, and he was kind of seen like as this reluctant champion, like, oh my God, I can't believe I won. Like he was just totally starstruck.
Hmm.
Um, some other fun things that happened was uh, at the time, David Arquette was also filming the movie 3,000 Miles to Graceland, if you're
Oh,
familiar with that
yeah.
movie.
Yep.
And they actually had like footage of him like walking around the set with the world title, like and like him walking up to like Kurt Russell and being like, I'm the WCW world champion. And Kurt Russell's like, you WCW world champion? Like, give me a break, and
That's
type of
really
thing.
funny,
And like
actually.
and Courtney Cox was there too. Like, David, like
Really?
you can't be the world champion, David.
It's
You-
that's actually really funny. I really like this.
so
I love that Courtney Cox is intertwined to wrestling history.
but she did have a brief moment where she was on Nitro.
Yeah.
And so David Arquette was the champion for a couple of weeks, I believe.
Mm,
So it ends up to have a triple threat match, and it's going to
mhm.
be a triple cage match, same triple cage from the movie,
Okay.
except it's going to be David Arquette versus Diamond Dallas Page versus Jeff Jarrett. And
Okay.
the whole kind of like story in the match is that David Arquette is really scared and he doesn't want to be the world champion anymore, and he's gonna be there to help out his buddy Diamond Dallas Page win the world title back.
Okay.
So they end up having this big match and everything. Diamond Dallas Page is about to win the world title, but David Arquette betrays Diamond Dallas Page,
Yes.
and Jeff Jarrett wins the world title.
Oh my God. Wow. That's a lot of drama. What happened after that? Does David Arquette, is he still like in like the plot after that?
After that, he comes out like a week later and cuts like this big heel promo, being like, "Yeah, I'm the Hollywood actor. Shut up, you're all a bunch of idiots," type
That's
of
like Andy
thing.
Kaufman
And
almost.
yeah, so and he doesn't really get like his whole comeuppance or anything because
Yeah.
they kind of threw away the whole angle. I think he does maybe get beaten up or something, but
Hmm.
there was no like it was a very short term story of like David Arquette being the
Gotcha.
world champion. So, but I mean, you just think like that's just wild at the time. Like they were just thinking like this is going to just set the world on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a silly stunt. And
Ma-
obviously they gave up on it really fast.
And I mean, no offense to David Arquette, but he wasn't exactly like an A-list actor either.
No, he never really was. I mean, that's probably him at his biggest at that time. But yeah, he's not like an A-list actor. And also, I wouldn't think of him as a wrestler or anything. I mean, obviously that seemed to be the point, but a little goofy.
Yeah. So that was kind of like his whole thing. Since then, David Arquette um has done some like wrestling appearances where he's actually wrestled like as an independent wrestler,
That's
and
fun.
he he won a what one of the he won there was like a title in WWE for a while, like in the early 2020s, where it's like anybody could win the title type of thing. It was like a 24/7 title that was defended, and
Hmm.
he won one of those titles too. It wasn't a big prestigious title. It was just something fun, and
Yeah.
it was always just funny because anytime he did appear at WWE events after this movie, he'd always have like the subtitles like former WCW champion David Arquette.
Yeah, I love that.
I
Yeah, no,
mean, yeah, I mean,
good for him.
that would be like, I mean, that would be like a really cool thing just to hang your hat on. It's like, yeah, I'm a WCW champion, or what,
Yeah,
that just,
even though if it was like some goofy thing, you could say like, yeah, I mean, I was a WCW champion. You get to have that for life. Better than an
yeah.
Oscar.
Hey, honestly, like at the time, if I was like, as a kid, that would have been way more of a bigger deal to me than winning an Oscar. But,
Yeah. But no, dude,
um,
yeah, that's really fun actually.
yeah. And then, like I said, they didn't really pay off for WCW. A year later, they did the AOL Time Warner merger,
Hmm.
and basically they didn't really want anything to do with wrestling. WCW was still a very profitable company at the time,
Hmm.
but the when they merged, the parent company didn't really want anything to do with wrestling.
Gotcha.
So they shut down WCW as a whole. And what you know it, that same year, WWE swooped in and actually purchased WCW
Hmm.
for the sum of only $4 million,
Wow. That's
which
like nothing.
that's like peanuts considering
Yeah.
how much money they generated.
Yeah, that's crazy actually.
One other thing too I want to mention. Did you notice the amount of missing wrestlers from this movie?
What do you mean missing wrestler? Like just like other famous ones like Hulk Hogan, people like that?
There was no Hulk Hogan, there was no Kevin Nash, no Scott Hall, no Bret Hart.
I expected to see a lot more wrestlers that I recognized.
Yeah. So I was thinking that the whole time. I was just like, why weren't like the bigger name people in this movie? So I actually went and listened to Kevin Nash's podcast.
Hmm.
Kevin Nash being one of the original founders of the group, the WCW, I mean, of the NWO and WCW.
Hmm. Driving double
And
feature favorite.
yes, and he uh, he did explain. Somebody asked him the question like, "Why were you not in Ready to Rumble?"
Hmm.
And he basically said like they weren't paying anything extra to go out and do this movie. A couple of guys, like I'm assuming Goldberg and Diamond Dallas, who had much bigger roles in the movie, were paid, I think, like an extra $100,000 or
Okay.
something like that. And the other guys that were in this movie, like the smaller time wrestlers that didn't really have speaking parts, uh, they were basically only paid scale for this movie.
Interesting.
And they were not able to join the Screen Actors Guild or like the unions or anything like that because it was kind of like a favored nations type of thing. So they didn't get anything extra really for being in this movie.
Gotcha.
And Kevin Nash, they asked him, and he was just like, he's like, he's like, you wanted me to be on a movie set, for like something like 12 weeks or whatever it
Mhm.
was it took them to film it. And he's like, or I could just go do Nitro and then go home afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why that is these people were making just like absurd amounts of money, just absurd. Like
Mhm.
Kevin Nash was one of them. I know he was just like he got paid either way, whether he showed up or not.
Wow.
And it was just he was getting like you should see it. You should Google at a certain point like how much some of these WCW guys are making. Like even like these low tier guys are making
Mhm.
like almost $1 million a year just sitting at home doing nothing.
That sounds wonderful.
So I imagine he was getting paid so much more money where it was like it was more appealing for him to sit at home and not have to do any extra work versus being on a film set. And he was basically just like, he's like, I already had enough footage of me being a wrestler on TV. Like, why would I want to go be
Be
in
in
a
a movie.
movie where I'm a wrestler there too?
Gotcha. And it just didn't make sense for the more famous ones to ever make their appearance there. Because what's the point other than just to say, like,
Right.
oh, I was in a movie?
Yeah, and Diamond Dallas Page is always somebody that was very game to be in a lot of those things. Like
Hmm.
that's like another instance is like when WWE bought WCW. Um, People like Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, all of them didn't go to WWE right away because uh, they were still getting payouts from their Time Warner contracts,
Hmm.
and they couldn't go work for WWE until they received all the payments. But Diamond Dallas Page, he wanted to keep wrestling, so he actually foregoed his contract in order to go work for
Wow.
WWE right
Wow.
away.
That's actually really cool.
So Diamond Dallas Page was always kind of like a guy that was always just said yes to everything, and he was always like a team player and just wanted to do what he could. And he was always a guy that people always spoke really highly of.
I was gonna say that sounds like something like a good guy would do.
Yeah, and I mean you've probably seen like he has like the viral videos now where there's
Yeah.
people that can't walk and he's able to do the DDP yoga with them, and he's done a lot of good like his post wrestling career.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Happy to hear that. Different than some other wrestlers I know of.
Yeah, there's a lot of those people in there, but um
Like John Cena
overall,
being in shitty movies.
well,
Oh,
John Cena has his own controversies that
of
we could get
course.
into.
Uh, yeah,
But
what's the ice cream meme with him in it? The um oh god, I can't even I say it all the time and I can't remember. I can't remember it now. You remember when he
like,
spoke like fluent Chinese for a little
oh
bit?
yeah,
Because I guess he does.
yeah,
John,
he can speak Mandarin.
yeah, Cena ice cream. Bing chilling. Yes. You ever seen that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bing chilling. But no, anyway, but go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
But yeah, well, it's really nice to see to go back and actually watch this movie and actually recognize a lot of those faces from
Hmm.
my childhood. I'm probably a little biased. This movie did stir up a lot of old childhood memories for me and reminded me of being a kid, and I
Hmm.
had sort of that same feeling. And this was a very comfortable watch, very cozy watch for me. Like it reminded me all about my childhood. It made me feel like I was a kid again. And for that, I still enjoyed it. I could see it be people calling this a really stupid comedy because it is,
Hmm.
and then not being everyone's cup of tea, but I enjoyed this one. Would I recommend this to anyone that I don't know? But if you like wrestling, I'd say give it a watch.
I kind of exist on the flip side. There's a weird feeling in me. So I do think this is a stupid comedy, and at the end of the day, I don't recommend it. I think it's just overall just kind of like it's of its time, very, very much of its time, and not a lot works for me. But it was strangely nostalgic for a movie that I had not watched as a kid. Very much captured a specific piece of time, and in that, I do think there I was a bit comfy with it. So I don't think I overly hated it or anything. I had some fun with it. I don't think it's a bad like I think you can have some fun with it. And I imagine if you like wrestling, you could have a good time with this one. Do I recommend it? No. I don't think it's a great watch, but it's not like god awful worst thing I've ever seen or anything like that.
That is totally fair. Fair. I can totally see that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's going to do that for Ready to Rumble. So, Nathan, what are we going to be talking about next time?
All right. So on Tuesday, we're going to be talking about 1961's Night Tide, and that one is streaming over on Amazon Prime.
Terrific.
But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Nathan, there's a movie I've been wanting to watch for a little bit. I would like to watch 1991's One False Move,
Oh, okay.
and that one's not streaming. You're gonna have to pay for it. It's $3.99.
Well, you know I love paying up.
Hmm. I'm gonna be reaching into your wallet, pay for you and me.
Oh, okay, of course. Well, I only have cash. Can do these things take cash? Can I go to my
Uh,
Blockbuster?
we'll make it work.
Okay, sounds
But
good.
anyway, that's going to do it. If you have any thoughts and opinions, please email us over at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast and check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast. But until next time.
Until next time.